Hello, friends, and welcome to Much Review About Nothing, the podcast where we review a movie we haven't seen through cultural osmosis and what we can find on the internet. I'm your host, Billy Greer.
And we're your co-hosts, Jake Greer and
Luke Greer.
Yeah, and today we're going to be taking a look at Avatar: The Way of Water.
Ooh.
Yeah. You didn't say our tagline, right?
Oh, I messed up. Let's don't watch a movie.
There we go.
Although,
Perfect
I guess
form
that,
as always.
well, we're kind of changing things up, and usually that would lead to a theme song, so I guess we got to figure out where everything should come in. So here we are in another episode.
Yep.
I feel like I'm rusty each time we do this.
Yeah, it's always been a long time.
I know we're trying to get our sea legs back, and that's not a pun because this movie has to do with water. You know, it's just a fact of life.
That would have been a good intro joke, Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start it over then. Yeah, every time we're having to get our sea legs, and speaking of sea legs, Avatar 2: The Way of Water. So I guess we'll jump into the trailer here. I was almost gonna ask you guys what you guys think, but let's start off with the trailer, I guess, and then
All
we
right.
can hash out our thoughts. All right, so Avatar: The Way of Water. So I guess we can start with what are your guys' feelings or background
never
with
seen it.
the original Avatar?
Nope.
Oh, you haven't?
I watched the original.
I have no idea.
But what is your take on it, Jake?
It's I believe I'm gonna have the same opinion on both films at this point. That it's just the visuals are impressive, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's a very simple and kind of classical style of filmmaking. It was compared a lot to Dancing with Wolves, that sort of deal. Not a very deep storyline, but I don't know, it's like a storyline that's designed to sort of appeal to everyone without being overly complex. It's sort of the thing that James Cameron does is he'll take a storyline or event and he'll kind of put a love story in it and have a basic conflict that everybody can kind of relate to.
I've never
Oh.
rated James Cameron
deal.
very highly myself.
I don't
No.
understand though. When does he shoot the air out of his hands? Yeah. He's learning how
what
to
are you
water bend
referring
in
to?
this one, I guess, but he looks very different from when I remember him.
Oh, it's okay.
It's an old joke.
Oh my goodness.
No, it just looks like your typical environmental movie, I guess.
Well, yeah, James Cameron has kind of shifted gears. And this one, it's sort
Oh
of an
my
old-fashioned
goodness.
Save the Whales movie.
I mean, that takes
yeah, only the most pressing of issues.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm all for saving the whales. It's just the whales are pretty much fine, thankfully.
So, and
But hey,
the sun seems to be involved. Is this Free
not against
Willy
it.
with aliens? Okay.
It kind of is from what I've heard. I think one of the sons
Do you
has a
have?
connection with
I
the
assume you have
whales.
your notepad, right, Billy?
Oh, that's I don't.
We gotta
I
do
totally
pros
forgot
and
about that aspect
cons.
of the podcast before we write. Oh my
All right. Well, if
goodness,
you don't
I'm
have
so
your
out of it.
yeah, do that. That's
I
fine.
can do notes. I can do notes.
I heard it
bring
was
out my
very
notepad.
similar to the first one.
Yeah, I mean that's not
Though
surprising.
to be fair, if they ever did lose, they would just die and there'd be no more movies.
Well, I mean that's
The
kind of how most
question
movies
is,
work.
how many times can James Cameron make the same movie and make a ton of money? Because Yeah, well, that's
So
what I'm
apparently
thinking. Presumably, this is
enzymes.
not the final Avatar movie. He just has to make another one. He's already done water. He's sort of the first one's sort of about air. I mean, he can just go through the elements. Like there's a Navi village, they're living in fire or something like that. You know.
And will we get other antagonists besides the
Yeah,
humans at this
No, only
point?
the humans.
Like
Every time
can we
they're
get
gonna
like
come
someone else?
back to Pandora to exploit it for some very specific resource.
Why? What about another alien race?
yeah,
I mean, the
like,
Na'vi exists. Why not
like if they're
another alien military?
yeah, that would be cool because I feel like he wants to keep it with the humans because then it's like the satirical jab at sort of like our military industrial complex. I feel like is why he keeps doing that. But yeah, I would love to see them fight another like even maybe like another more
Yeah, it's like a
warmongering
big
race on the
planet. Maybe
planet,
there's
you
like
know.
like an ancient civilization underneath the ground, and they emerge in Avatar: The Way of Earth,
Honestly, I think next movie the humans are gonna come back and they're gonna try to fight Jake Sully again.
and they're gonna lose again. Ooh,
Yeah.
wow!
I mean, you're probably right, but like it's not going to be a trilogy. He's planned if they do well, he's
Oh
planning
my
like at
No, I
least
know.
7, maybe
It's
more
it's
of these
gonna be
suckers.
it's gonna be the same movie like 7 times, and it's gonna be glorious. So do you have your
Yeah,
notes up,
in
Billy?
a way, in a
Now,
way, I hope it is the same
yeah,
movie 7 times. That'd be amazing. I would laugh so hard.
see if he keeps getting away with it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys aren't as big a well, you've already made it clear. You're not as big a fan as of
Yeah.
James Cameron as
Yep.
I am. Because I mean, he did Terminator 2, Aliens. I mean, he has. To be fair, James Cameron has probably the most impeccable track record of
Okay.
any director ever. You know, he's basically only had one stumble, and that was The Abyss. And even that movie is pretty interesting and
Well,
groundbreaking on
I
its
do like
own merits.
Alien. It's one of
So
my favorite movies. Oh,
yeah, but he directed Aliens, the sequel, which is also really good. It's more of an action
maybe
movie, but it's a
there's
really
just the
good
thing
action
I
movie.
don't like about this is that he just reused the plot of the first movie. It gets kind the first
The first
Avatar where it's
Avatar,
like,
or you
oh,
mean in
they
general?
humans want something, they fight, and then they lose at the end, and then it's like he did it again. The madman.
Yeah, why can't the humans exploit the planet? I don't
Yeah,
No,
understand.
I don't want that. I just want like different antagonists. Just give me some variety, man.
yeah. I mean, I guess the variety is
Hey,
the setting
it's
now.
water,
It's like the ocean, the whales, and
so it's surface
yeah,
level.
the maybe. I mean, I don't know exactly what transpires in the film, so I can't say for certain. You know, that's the conceit of the podcast. But yeah, I mean, I am worried, like you said, that it is just going to be little adjustments here and there with no major,
It's just his family
changes
starts to
to
get
the overall
slowly and
narrative.
slowly bigger.
he,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just by
he
the time of the
creates his
seventh
own army
movie, it's
of his
just
kids.
like an entire tribe of just his descendants. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's like,
Yeah.
laying down the foundations for the big Navi civilization.
In a way, it feels like James Cameron is playing The Sims with the Avatar movies because, he done the first one, his first sim, it went through. He had children, and now it seems like his son is like kind of getting with the one of the Water Tribe members. So maybe that's the next generation. So it's like he's playing Sims 3 or Sims 4. Um, yeah.
He's
So I
bought
think
all the DLC.
we need some pros and cons, right? So I would say the biggest con that we can find so far is just that he keeps making the same movie. It's Avatar 1
Minor
again.
adjustments. It's like
Yes,
it's like
but in his defense, like we said, he keeps making billions of
Right.
dollars every time
But that's
he
a
does.
con
So he has
against
no
us
incentive
as
to
the
change it.
people who consume movies, I would say. We could have that con.
guess
Anybody
so.
who's listening, if you enjoyed it or seen it and gave them money, that's a con for you,
yep,
personally.
you're a loser.
No, you're not a loser. You just have that con.
You just been had.
It's a hostile podcast all of a sudden. Look, I am not against James Cameron movies. I mean, they may be like big blockbustery populist films, but they still, I feel like they have more integrity than a lot of like a majority of the
And
blockbusters
again,
that are
it's not
coming
my
out
main
from
issue.
say
My
like
main
Disney or
issue is that
whatever.
he's just recycling.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes with the theme of like the
I guess,
environmentalism.
I guess he is following his environment.
We have to give that pro to him that he is
He's well
actually
into
very
recycling.
consistent. Like
He's
Avatar
very-
2 is a recycled movie, which is consistent with the plot of Avatar.
You know what?
Recycle.
Was it like be kind and recycle or whatever? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Reduce,
so I think
reuse, recycle.
Yeah. Well, it's Be Kind, Rewind, but yeah.
Yeah.
Recycling plots to save the environment.
so. You know,
Saving on
I
waste.
would say
Throwing out all the instead of throwing out all the old script, he just strikes out a few words and inserts a few lines, and bam, he saved paper.
You know. So, what do you guys think of the often a criticism lowered at the original film and the franchise in general is that Avatar has had no cultural footprint or
I mean,
impact.
I wouldn't say that.
I would say that's mostly true.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got a conflict here.
I
Well,
mean,
You
actually,
guys got to argue your points.
within this period and now, when has Avatar really come up? You know?
yeah, that's actually a good question because beyond the first initial hype, like it was super big at the time. Like it was one of the like massive. There was even like a syndrome. I don't know how true this was, where like people were depressed that they couldn't go to, like, it is Pandora, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's apocryphal, but I could have sworn someone like killed themselves because of it, that they were depressed they couldn't go to Pandora. Or that they did it to go to Pandora. I don't know. That may be apocryphal. That may not be
But
true.
then Luke's
I
right
remember a
after
story like
that. I haven't really seen anything. I mean, I guess Disney, because they had their.
See, my whole theory or my whole what I believe its footprint is the fact that people would periodically argue about the fact that it had no impact. So its impact was the fact that people believed it didn't have an impact, because at least on Twitter that would happen like every couple of months. You know, Avatar would come up or something like that, and people would say, like, do you even remember the main character of the film is like, this movie had no impact, and then the defenders would come to its, you know, defense, and they'd say, yeah, but it was a great film, you know, blah blah blah. And so to me its whole identity is like,
I would say
not
that's a
having an
fair way to
identity.
put it.
Or
That's what I
You
said
know?
was. That's why I said it mostly didn't have an
sort of-
impact, because anything will have an impact, no matter how minuscule. But I'm just saying that there was like a long. I forgot Avatar existed as a film series until this new Way of Water got announced. I was like, oh yeah, that existed. That's just me.
Yeah, I guess in a greater sense, its identity was keeping alive the concept of an independent IP as a concept. You know, because like in the sea
And
of
reboots
franchises and
and
superhero films
sequels.
and all that stuff, Avatar would still come up in that conversation as something that, you know, it stands on its own and was not very memorable, but in doing so was memorable by the the sheer fact that it exists, and also is the highest, you know, grossing
And now
film
it
of
has
all time.
itself
So,
become the franchise.
Yep, it sold out. That's
Yeah.
another con. It sold
Yes.
out and franchised out. Boo. Or do we like franchises? Yeah, I just need to know.
Do
so I
we
can
like
boo it or yay
franchises?
it.
I think
Okay,
we're
good. That's good.
anti-franchise
I
at the
didn't
moment,
remember, so boo franchise.
because I feel like we've really soured over the past couple of years on Marvel, and because Disney and Warner Brothers are
No,
keeping
I want to clarify.
the franchises
It's
alive.
not a franchise I have a problem with. It was the fact that it got saturated. Everything had to be a franchise, and it's just
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I guess it's like if it's a franchise, it's
Well,
something I like, then I don't care. But every franchise has become bloated, and I've kind of lost interest in. So yeah, I'm anti-franchise.
It's
That's the platform of this
anti-franchisism.
podcast. We all have to get on the same page.
All right. So, did we want to jump into rando reviews or? All right. I knew we
Yeah,
wanted
sure.
to
I
do
guess
this
we
a
can go
little
and jump in.
earlier.
I just have one thing before we jump into rando reviews.
Shoot.
If I remember correctly, isn't he raising the son of the general dude? Who's a human?
That's right. Yeah, that's a
And he has to wear that mask all the time. So why don't they just put him in a Na'vi body already? That seems kind of weird to me.
I don't think they have the
did it in the movie,
technology
but they're just laying them
anymore.
on a tree and then like rubbing their face.
Yeah, but he
I
was
see,
already
I
he
mean,
was already in it. They don't have like a
just
spare
get
body
someone.
laying around.
It's like, hey, we don't need him. We don't need him. He doesn't do anything. Kill him, and then
Kill
just stick
another-
the boy's body in there.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't
it's
thought
kind
of
of
that.
cruel
Yeah.
to let him live in a hostile planet that as soon as that mask breaks or he runs out of filters or whatever, he dies. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, it was
sure.
just something I thought of. It was like, well, it's not. It's not like it's sustainable. He's gonna need a Na'vi body eventually. Well, he
But he may
freaking
not
wears
wanna
their
become a
loincloths
Na'vi,
and lives in the trees with them. I mean,
yeah, no, I don't know. It is a good point. That is an interesting because like I don't know if it's a spoiler, but even the main bad guy from the original,
Yeah, I
movie
think
technically
a lot
does
of people
come
did.
back.
Copy. And
like a lot of them are reincarnated.
Yeah.
They could just
Yeah, they
take
do.
over one of those facilities. There's your facility right there. There's the tech. I wonder if the main bad guy will come back
No, that's
again in the
true.
other movie. He'll have another body.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's getting more and more bodies. They keep mind gets more and more degraded until he just
They
can't
wheel him
function
out
anymore.
in a mobility scooter or whatever. Jake pushes him over and he gets yelled at by everyone. It's like, dude, why'd you do that for? And that's how Jake Sully eventually he gets canceled by the other Na'vi.
It becomes problematic to fight the main bad guy because he's so pathetic at a certain point.
That's the seventh movie, the way of the internet culture.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about the movie, it does have a lot of kind of like interesting little elements in it. So I do want to see it at some point because I do find them interesting movies, and visually they're always really compelling. And James Cameron's good at directing action. So if nothing else, I feel like it's worth it from
right.
that
I know we keep
standpoint.
talking about random reviews, but the runtime. How do you guys feel about that? 3 hours, if in case.
I mean, it's 3 hours. Yeah, I mean that's hefty. I forgot it was 3 hours. Good grief, that's rough. I mean, unless the movie's super engaging, then you may not feel that.
Is that a con? The runtime.
That's a long.
Well, I guess it's kind of a pro con because if you really love the world and you want to get back into it for another 3 hours,
oh,
because what's the runtime of the original?
It's long, but
like if it's like
3 hours
1 or 2 hours, then you have 4 hours of Pandora right there. You put that on your VR headset, you strap that on, you're in that world for that amount of time.
Yeah. And I don't know if this joke was made before, but I feel like the way of water is what you do in your pants when you have to sit in the theater for that long.
Yeah, because the original hour is 2 hours and 42 minutes, and so the way of water is 3 hours 12 minutes.
Still, that's almost.
You almost have about 6 hours there of Pandora. So if you really want to live in that world, I think you have a whole work day to basically be in that world. You could clock in, if you're.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if he was doing that because he didn't want another another incident with people becoming so depressed that they potentially harm themselves. So he's now trying to provide as much time in that world as possible. I wonder if each movie it's
Oh,
going to get
probably.
exponentially longer and longer.
The last movie is gonna eventually be like The Ring, and it's gonna be a the Ring of Nibelheim. It's gonna be a three. It's gonna be like a
Oh, I thought you
3-day
meant the
affair.
Japanese
People
horror
will come
movie.
in for like the first part, and then they'll rest. They'll come back and like it'll be like a 3-day affair.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna make it where you can at least spend a whole day,
Yeah.
because then you could just keep repeating it.
All right. Well, let's go on to rando reviews.
Alrighty.
And we're going to start on IMDb. And we have Sidium Wizzy Y. It's just a random jumble of letters, but I've turned it into a name. He gave it
Good
10
for
out of
you.
10.
Ooh.
He titled it After Aliens 1986 and Terminator 1984. This is the greatest and hardest of Mr. Cameron.
Wow.
I honestly, I think we should have a pro greatest and hardest of Mr. Cameron.
I guess so. I mean, straight out of the horse's mouth. I guess. I mean,
I don't even know if I want to delve
I
too
think it
deeply
stands
into
on
that.
its own. All right. It truly begins. Pandora is created for the first time in this movie. While before this, it was just a beautiful visual idea. Pandora is created for the first time in this film, not because of Cameron's tough filmmaking style. Rather, it is the emotion that created it. Yes, it is the emotion that make Pandora. After Aliens 1986 and Terminator 1984, this movie is Cameron's hardest and toughest movie. This movie is a great work that a tough filmmaker makes up with emotions. The world of Avatar is readable, not too complicated, but it takes form.
I mean, he's right in that. It's not difficult.
Avatar's 2's special effects are not just it's not just an invention. Rather, it serves the story. It serves the characters. It serves the mise scene. I don't know what that.
Mise en scene. That's a French cinematography term, or a French film term. I think it means like verisimilitude or something
Why
like
does
that.
he just say verisimilitude?
I
You gotta be
I'll
all
have to look it up.
fancy and forward.
He continues. Jake Sully and his wife are paid again and are not just big stars of a simple romantic standard level of payment. So
Wait, they were paid again?
Yeah, so I think this is more of a documentary, or at least he believes that Jake Sully and his wife, who he does not name, are like actual people, or
That
It's
is
paying
the
aliens to-
secret. You see, at the end of the series, they do get conquered by the humans, but instead of being conquered for resources, they get conquered because they make good television. And David Cameron himself appears at the
yeah.
end. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to film you guys now." Yeah, he
It kind of
pays.
becomes the
It
Truman
is
Show,
him paying
almost, at the
them.
end.
Here, Jake Sully and your wife. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a twist. I kind of like that.
it seems that here the filmmaker should not refer to his story to a film of the first part, but James Cameron explains everything with the focus he has in filmmaking during short impressions. This movie is much better than the first part because here we are not going to go through a very long and boring introduction about a multi-line story. This movie starts from the first moments.
I'm glad because some
good.
movies
Like,
don't start their first
start
moment. They
from the
start like
last
an
moment.
hour in. The screen finally starts at the second act. I'm like, whoa. Yeah.
I'm assuming he doesn't mean non-linear. 'Cause some
Yeah,
movies are
I mean, was the
non-linear, but-
first one a multi-line story? I guess it starts with them coming to the planet, right?
Yeah, it's pretty linear. There was a build up on the planet, like you see Earth in like some deleted scenes, but yeah, in the first one he starts off in like the pod.
Right.
coming
He's saying the first one
Pandora.
is multi-line, and I don't think that's true.
You know what?
Alright.
I find it funny when you
don't
said
either.
that some movies are out of order. I was imagining an Avatar movie shot like a Quentin Tarantino movie, just out of order. That's kind of a weird thought.
Yeah.
I guess it
I
could.
don't know. It can work.
All
You
right.
know what you're
So
doing.
going over to the Google reviews, we have Shannon Smith, 5 out of 5 stars. The only way to see this movie is in digital Dolby 3D. The ocean crashes the machines. Boom, the fire encompasses you, and you are an integral part of the world that has been so lovingly created. This movie was amazing. I cannot wait to see the next one. And like I said, I recommend wholly you see it 3D digital Dolby.
I like when it says crashing the machines, like they were trying to watch it. The
Yeah.
graphics were so intense that the projector kept crashing.
This review did confuse me because there's no punctuation, so it's just it is the ocean crashes the machines, boom, the fire encompasses you, and you are the integral part of this world.
So I guess what he's saying is that
It's
it
like
crashes the
slam
machine, and the machine bursts into flames that surround you, and and you feel like you're in the world because as the ships and stuff are burning on screen, you are burning in the theater.
It's
4D experience.
very
Yeah.
very involving 4D. It's James Cameron's new innovation.
Yeah.
He endangers you.
Can you imagine that you're sitting in the theater, all of a sudden the theater just starts filling up with water, there's explosions going around.
And then you get killed by blue cap people that come in.
People they
Yeah.
start firing arrows down from the projector booth.
That's in the 6th movie. They go to Earth.
So I feel like watching this movie in
I
the
mean,
water
yeah.
would
3
be kind of
hours.
cool.
You'd be a
That would be neat to be in
prune
a
by the
room
time you
full
got
of
out.
That's true. Well, I guess if you had floaty chairs, it'd be
It
a
has
fun
to
movie
be
to
3D
watch.
Dolby surround sound, Billy. Otherwise, why even bother?
Yes,
It's got
it must be.
there's a
Yeah.
That
high
person gets a
bar
check from
to
Dolby, I
watch
guess.
this film. It's not very accessible to the common man.
Yeah, I guess the con is that I don't know if
It
it's true,
kills you.
but the movie
It barrels you.
Yeah,
imperils
possibly. You
while
might
you're watching.
honestly, you might have to wait for to come out on home video or whatever, the VHS and all that. But
Or laser disc.
But then
For some
at that point, James Cameron just hooks up hoses to your
oh,
windows and
maybe.
fills your
For
house
some reason,
up.
I couldn't think of streaming, and I was like, oh yeah, home video.
Yeah, home video.
Well, it has
You
to
know
come to
what?
streaming because it's
James
the way of
Cameron's
water.
becomes like old artsy. He's all like, I'm only releasing it on VHS.
Could you imagine?
I feel like no one
Oh no, I got
appreciated
it.
my
It's
streaming
streaming water.
joke.
It's just
You
another
have to
water
do it
pud,
streaming.
Billy. You're old and washed up.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Hey, I'm the water joke
All right,
guy.
the next one, we're getting into negative reviews. So I started with our positives. Here's our
okay.
negatives. We have Andy Linz, 1 out of 5 stars. Of
Ooh.
course, the special effects were phenomenal, especially for a war movie. The movie has very few redeeming factors in its storyline. 3+ hours of war against an enemy while continuously infighting among the alleged protagonists. It was very difficult for me to watch, and I left depressed and saddened. So it has
Wow.
a big impact on you emotionally. Yes.
So
It wasn't
can
the
be
war that was
depressing.
distressing. It was the inter-family.
Yeah, it was the
conflict.
infighting among
It
the
was-
alleged protagonists.
He could not handle the family drama.
Well, I think they have fighting against the other tribe, because they're not the only tribe there. The water tribe.
Yeah, well, I don't think they really fight that.
No,
think
but
they
there was
actually
a
get
bit of
into a
war with
tackling
each
going
other.
on. We did see that in the trailer.
That would be too interesting.
A bit of roughhousing.
A bit of rough out. Yeah,
Little rough-
the rough housing was too much.
All right. And to kind of corroborate that, we have Tim Kelpsas, 1 out of 5 stars. War, 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 anger, anger, anger. The movie is assaulting and uncomfortable. Yes, that's what
I
I'm
did
reading it as
repeatedly.
verbatim.
Ward egg.
The movie is assaulting and uncomfortable, both in your heart and on screen. I am very uncomfortable, but here with my 21-year-old daughter, so I will stay. I am 2.25 hours into this movie, and I regret coming. Assaulting.
Just imagine his dad just sitting there in the movie theater with his iPhone out, just writing that out. His only escape.
I love the little like Greek chorus or
Yeah.
whatever he wrote into his own review.
Chance, war, anger, and then you
Anger.
finish with assaulting. So,
Assaulting.
yeah, I guess
It drags.
either in the pros or the cons, I don't care which, right? War, anger, assaulting. I feel like we need to document this. While you're doing that, here's the last of the negative reviews. We have Adrian Chai.
Doing this
1 out of
one
5
hand.
stars. Donkey
Holding the
Donuts.
other.
The visuals were all right. The storytelling was lazy, contrived, and artificially forced. Doorknob. Edit. Everyone giving high ratings are doorknobs, bots or otherwise. So, yeah, I also loved how he begun the review with Donkey Donuts. I don't know what that means. It's like an explanation of like...
another
Donkey Donuts. This
insult.
movie was terrible, and you're a doorknob if you like it.
It's like
Is
one tarnation or
in
whatever.
pejoratives. Yeah, this is when an old-timey prospector watches.
All
your
right, so the
movie and
last
reviews it.
review that we have is by Kopala Silvarajan. He gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm going to read this as is. Nothing's added. Avatar 2, The Way of Water review.
Okay.
My rating, 3 out of 5. Performances. I am big admirer of James Cameron of getting the optimum out of his cast and crew and his lavishness in his film's worth. Make watching theaters. All the actors come up with brilliant performances. Drawback is lengthy runtime. Repeat, reminding us Jaws, Star Wars, Jellyfish, little bit Jurassic Park Forest, and Small Flying Creature. Again, boring in IMAX screen.
Jellyfish.
Nothing new? Looks like only 2D print converted to 3D for commercial gain, bringing audience for theater watch. No 3D effects sincerely made by James Cameron in 3 hours movies for kids. But 3 hours movie is having many dialogues of family, disappointing for kids. Much scope for 3D scenes coming near to audience kids. Solely using arrow, jellyfish, giant monarch fish, climax scene. When we pay
3 hours too long.
When we pay $600 for 3D IMAX for effects, also, it's Avatar 2 is vanilla 3D movie. Same Avatar 2, edited for 2 hours, must have been welcomed by all audience in world. Highlights. James Cameron direction, spectacular visual effects, 3D effects, disappointing, repeat, reminding us, Jaws, Star Wars, Jellyfish, little bit, Jurassic Park Forest, and Small Flying Creature.
Keep repeating. What is jellyfish? It's not a movie.
Stunning production design, terrific cinematography. Drawbacks, lengthy runtimes, 3 hours, must have reduced 2 hours with cutting repeated Jaws, Star Wars, Jellyfish, little bit Jurassic Park Forest, and Small Flying Creature scenes.
It feels like I'm in like a trench and I'm getting radio signals from a man under fire and I'm waiting for it to like repeat Jaws, Jellyfish, radio.
Overall.
But like, what does the running time keep changing?
I'll explain in a second.
Saying different
Overall,
times.
visual grandeur. That's how he finishes.
I feel like he's activating some sort of like kill switch.
So visual grandeur. But yeah, it does feel like someone on like really a either like a radio like that or the I don't know what is those called. It's like something stop,
telegram?
Yeah, the telegraph. Yeah, Morse code and telegraph. It sounds like that.
Morse.
We're getting a news report. Jaws, Star Wars, Jellyfish, little bit Jurassic Park, and Small Flying Creature.
Yeah, it was like it was repeating, and then the time he would list would go up, and would his estimation of the film also become better?
What he was saying, and he kind of reiterated, is that he felt it was too long. It was 3 hours, and he wanted it reduced to 2 hours with cutting repeated Jaws, Star Wars, Jellyfish, little bit of
Okay.
Jurassic Park. So he's explaining what was in the movie. Yeah, so
Okay, so
basically,
that's his
I'm assuming
distillation
Jaws
of
is like
film.
the big
That's kind of what I
fish.
thought.
Star Wars is like just they're in space. And then the little bit Jurassic Park
Yeah.
Force.
Okay, because he was confusing me because he would list
Yes.
just details and movies. So like,
Uh,
what movie is Jellyfish? And then I'm also like, why did they never make like a horror movie with
Jellyfish are
hordes of
scary.
jellyfish coming after people? That would
Well,
Yeah.
Avatar 2 is vanilla 3D movie, whatever that means.
Vanilla 3D.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I feel
mean,
like that's
it's
kind of what your guys'
honestly, if
point
you
was.
just,
That
it's
the vanilla.
his review
Everybody
is
liked vanilla.
a
So.
distilled review of the movie, basically.
Yeah, I'm compelled by these reviews that you've chosen because I feel like many of them have played with the form of the review. This is no longer these are like experimental reviews. It's not a tradition. Like unlike the film they're reviewing, which is kind of a very straightforward populist film, our reviewers have kind of pivoted and now they're fighting like Samuel Beckett experimental style reviews to make up for it.
It was
It's
so
very, very
straightforward
interesting, man.
that people had to get all experimental just to counterbalance it.
So I
Yeah,
think
that's what it
we
seems
have to have a
be.
pro of visual grandeur. I think that is like, I mean, that is an apt description of the film, I feel like.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest selling point of the Avatar series.
Just a big,
The
pretty
thing
picture.
that confuses me about this is the idea of it looks like only 2D print converted to 3D for commercial gain.
Yeah, he's saying because that's what a lot of at least what they used to do. A lot of movies would just be shot normally and then converted into 3D after the fact. During that kind of boom in the mid 2010s or whatever, I forget exactly when it happened, but it was just a way to get people to pay more for a ticket. But there's also a method by which you can film it directly for which he's wrong because this movie is filmed
what
for
I think
3D.
he's lamenting, it says
That's
no
some of
3D
the,
effects sincerely made by James Cameron in 3 hours movie for kids. He's lamenting the fact that there's like nobody like poking at the screen, essentially, like one of those.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
There's not a Navi with a yo-yo.
That would have been amazing if like at the very beginning he's just playing with a yo-yo. He's just like shooting it, in front of the screen.
So I think that is a con, the fact that there's no, like, as you say it,
Yo-yo.
Navi with a yo-yo. Nobody's messing with the audience in a direct way.
Was it 4D? His standards keep going up.
Yeah. It's yeah, but I mean, I feel like it was shot.
Oh, I'm sure it was like
3D intentionally because like that's why these movies take so long because the technology has to catch up with James Cameron's ambitions. All the like water stuff, is just incredibly hard to shoot because they are underwater. The actors are underwater, which is why it feels realistic. It's not like faking it.
Oh.
okay.
And that's all I have to say about that. I feel like I'm the James Cameron shill in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen too many of his movies. I've just been tainted by Avatar, basically, and it just
listen. If he can make
just wasn't a big a fan.
Listen, if he can make the same movie 7 times to get people to pay and watch it, more power to him. I'm actually impressed by that, and I hope he does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, never bet against James Cameron. There were people who were like, "Oh, is this really going to be successful?" And it's like the man somehow knows how to wring money out of people.
How much has
Don't
it?
worry about
it. Okay, it's already made $2 billion.
Yeah,
but
it's made so much money.
I mean, I don't want to be a naysayer or anything, but I'm getting a feeling that as these movies continue, it's just gonna drop.
Yeah, it's possible they might because people haven't seen that world in a long time, so it might be running off.
I think by the 4th movie, you're gonna see
hype.
some massive drop because at the 3rd one they're gonna watch and they're gonna be like, It's kind of like the other one, but then on the fourth, people are just gonna stop caring. It's like if you got ice cream like every single day. At first, you're gonna be like, yeah, ice cream, and then later it's gonna be like, oh, it's ice cream.
Well, the question is,
Maybe
how
so.
long is it
Vanilla
going to
ice
take
cream.
for the next
I played
movie to come
different.
out?
You know what? You're right. It could just be.
It's gonna come out way faster than this one did.
It was
'cause
like
this one
13
took,
years, right?
how-
So
13
what
years,
if?
basically? Yeah, but the next one is not going to take
Well,
13
what
years.
if it is? That's the strategy. Is every 13 years there's an Avatar.
then he will be dead
He
by
comes
then,
back
and
to
I
get
will
a couple
stop
more
caring.
$1 billion.
Well, no, he
Yeah.
creates them all basically, and then every 13 years he releases one.
No, James
Oh,
Cameron's
that's
going to put
true.
himself in a Navi body so he could keep filming the films. It's going to be this giant blue
Can you
James
imagine just
Cameron.
one day James Cameron is just a giant blue creature? Yeah, nobody says anything.
He doesn't announce it.
It's
He
like,
just
like
comes
an
out to
interview, and he's just sitting there, and the interviewer's like, the interviewer knows something's
9
wrong,
feet
but he doesn't want to
tall.
say anything. He's just having a normal conversation with a 9-foot tall blue cat, James Cameron.
The camera's still like
Yeah.
set up for regular.
And he
size
doesn't
James
want to bring it
Cameron,
up.
but you can't even see
He
his
really
head.
wants to, but he doesn't want to make it weird. He's like, yeah.
Oh.
Do something with
You
your
look great.
do something with your hair.
Been working out
I
lately?
know, but I thought you died. It was kind of on the news.
No, I didn't die. No, you're wrong. It was
There's like gossip
That's
columns
fake
about, oh,
news.
did James Cameron take that like silver something that turns your skin blue or whatever? Like those are the gossips going
Yes.
around. Not that he's transformed into a
What was
giant
it called?
Navi, but yeah, colloidal silver.
It's like
Has he been taking colloidal
Is that what it's
silver?
called?
No one wants to admit it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got like
Yeah.
cat ears. too. Yeah, I think that's how he's gonna have to do it if he plans on having the series go on that long. I don't see any other option. Walt Disney's gonna
Why-
be like kicking himself. He bought into cryogenics.
Yeah.
He should have
I
bought
think it's a
into
big blue
Avatar
cat.
technology.
'Cause, I mean, thinking back on it, Jake Sully and his wife are paid again. I mean, I think the tech's there.
Yeah, I like those characters. Jake Sully
Yeah.
and his wife, my two favorite characters.
Jake Sully and his wife. Can you imagine the poster starring Jake Sully and his wife?
Whoa, you're Jake Sully's wife.
I like how there's
Yeah.
not an actor
That's
now,
your-
it's just
your
Jake
legal name.
Sully and his wife. I don't even know who played Jake Sully.
It's Sam Worthington.
What else has he done?
I mean, he's been in a few movies here and there. He's not like a super major actor. His biggest
see
period
that.
was kind of in the
I
2010s
think,
because of Avatar. He was in the
yeah, I
Clash
see
of
that.
Titan remakes.
I believe
was
we
his
saw
other
this.
kind of
And
big
I
claim
just
to fame.
found out Avatar 3 is going to be 2024.
Sam Worthington kind of feels like the distillation of actor. Or he's like kind of like a store mannequin
Yeah.
that can say lines. So don't get me wrong, I think he's fine, but he just kind of he's perfect for becoming
Yeah,
an
he's
avatar.
he's the hero that he's your point of reference, like like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. That's true.
Because that's what it is. Because you want to be in the world, so you need the actor who's basically a plank. Yeah, you need a plank of wood.
You need an avatar.
Well, he became Jake Sully,
Yeah.
Yeah, he is James.
and his
James
wife
Cameron-
became his wife.
It's his legal
James
name
Cam-
now.
Yeah, James.
Zoe
James-
Saldana
yeah,
is
James
now
Cameron
Jake
said,
Sully's
"Listen, if
wife."
you want to be more in these movies, it's the biggest thing in your career. You're changing your name to Jake Sully."
All right. Well, I think we've run
All right,
out of review.
I think we've milked this space well enough.
Yeah. I think so. I guess we'll read through our pros and cons and
Yeah.
then give it a review. Yeah. Oh, and also I looked at mise en scene is a French term meaning putting on stage. It combines elements such as lighting, composition, art direction, costuming, makeup, and texture. Mise en scene is almost everything that happens in front of a camera in a particular scene. So, for some reason, that review, which was inept in every way, somehow knew this relatively obscure French cinema term. I just want to give them their due credit. Because I had heard of that before, but I was like, wow, that's a weird place to find that word. But yeah, so anyways, pros and cons. I guess we'll start with the cons. James Cameron keeps making the same movie. It's sold out. The movie imperils you. It's very dangerous 4D. It's a depressing family drama with a lot of roughhousing. War, anger, 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 assaulting, assaulting, assaulting. And there's no Navi with a yo-yo. In the pros, James Cameron is recycling plots to save the environment. It is the greatest and hardest of his movies. The Navi have become actors. And visual grandeur. And then finally, the pro cons, the runtime, depending on how you feel about the world. So that is the pros and cons and pro cons. So does anybody want to give it a
Well,
review?
I think that it has gorgeous details, the post-game content, some smart updates. It's got too much water and too many HMs. I'm going to have to give it a 78. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much water.
Okay.
My review is, it's a good, simple popcorn flick. A good, simple movie that's not part of an established franchise. It's got war, it's got violence, but the thing that bothers me is the roughhousing. I cannot abide roughhousing. It just gives them wrong impression to children. You can show them with people getting blown up and guns firing, but as soon as you show two boys wrestling in the sand, in the water, it just becomes too much. So I'm going to have to put on my parental glasses here and say, you know what? Perfect for adults. Maybe not take your kids to it because they could start roughhousing after seeing it. I'm going to give it a 43.
Well, one thing before Billy gets to his review, I forgot to note this, that some reviewers were unhappy with the amount of CGI animal violence in it. So I thought that was interesting. That they specifically said CG animals. That was the problem they had. If it was real animals, might have been okay. If they abused some real whales, that would have been fine. But CG whales, those are off.
You know what? I'm glad with my low score after hearing about that. I cannot abide fake animal, fake violence. That's even worse.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, it says no animals were harmed in making this film.
A lot of CGI animals.
James Cameron said, "I demanded they blow up James Cameron sat there. He slammed his fist on the ground with the VFX artist and said, I need more of these CG animals being blown up. Give me 20 more shots of a cow exploding."
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about the movie. Like I said, I'm probably the biggest James Cameron apologist. So, from what I could see, there's a lot that I find appealing, but also at the same time, it's kind of just probably not going to do anything too over the top in terms of narrative and plot and stuff like that. But, I am glad that James Cameron is taking on very pressing social issues, such as saving the whales. I'm looking forward to his Dare campaign, where the Navi have to fight drugs in the next one.
Jake Sully's like, son, I know something smelled weird in your tree. Well, what is this?
Where'd you learn how to do this? I learned it from you, Dad.
He's sticking the little hair tentacle into the wrong kind of plants. Yeah, so I think for being so prescient and relevant. I think I'm gonna give it a solid
yeah,
60.
like I said, I would have rated it higher, but there's too much roughhousing
Yeah.
and CG animals dying.
Yeah. And I think most of all, I'm just excited that the movies will finally give James Cameron an excuse to enter his
I
real
cannot wait for
Na'vi
that
body.
interview when he is 9 feet
I
tall.
can't wait for that day. When he's a big blue man. I want to see that man.
It's just a thought. The mental image cracks me
Okay,
up every
so
time.
another thing we didn't bring up is that Sigourney Weaver is playing his teenage daughter.
Yeah, there was
I
some
mean,
notes
a
about
bizarre
that. It just seemed
choice.
like a classic kind of anime voice acting thing.
Yeah, I mean they're CGI
I guess so.
they're CGI
She's like
abominations.
70.
Okay, really, you can't really tell.
All right, so we got 60.3 repeaty, and for our episode back, repeaty's here. Yay,
It's me,
repeaty,
the
always
decibel.
there.
Why did you pull me out of retirement? I thought
Not
you
yet,
buzzes were
not
done
until
with
the day
this.
we die.
We're still clout chasing.
Oh man. Oh well.
Yeah,
I don't
get
know
out
what
of
to
here,
say. I
repeaty. We're
guess I'll
done with
leave
you.
now.
Get out of here!
I'm such a robust character, but I
Don't
never
get him
get a
his
chance.
coat.
Okay,
Get him out of
bye.
here!
Okay. So
Yeah.
Avatar, Avatar the Way of Water. Avatar: The Way of Water received a 76 from critics and
Why
a
the critics rate
92
it
from
so
the
low?
audience.
I
I
thought
don't
they would
know.
be both fairly high.
Let's
I thought
see.
they'd both at least be 90s. Weird.
You know what? It kind of seems like what we're saying. The critics' consensus. Narratively, it might be fairly standard stuff, but visually speaking, Avatar: The Way of Water is a stunningly immersive experience. And then the audience, they both kind of say similar things, but Avatar: The Way of Water's story is predictable, but the visual effects are so spectacular that it hardly matters. So it's basically how far the visuals go for you, and they seem to go further
makes
for
a
the
lot of
audience.
sense.
Is Avatar: The Way of Water the AAA gaming of the movie industry?
There's an argument to be made
pretty
there.
graphic.
All
like
about the graphics.
The graphics.
Yeah.
The graphics.
Look at those graphics.
All right. Well, as you can
All
see,
right.
we are back. We are going to be experimenting with our formatting and stuff like that as we come back. Try to get this shorter. I don't think we succeeded this time, but we are going to keep trying.
We did not succeed. It's still an hour long. Oh my goodness. No.
Oh,
All
I
part of
think
the
it's a good solid
process.
hour.
But yeah. Yeah, no, an hour's not bad. But yeah, it's good to be back in the swing of things. We're shaking off the rust, getting back into
Yeah, it turns
podcasting
out
full time.
moving is not good for podcasting. So, but
No,
we
it's
are,
not.
like I keep saying, we're back, and we want to thank everyone for listening. Yep.
It's the 5th time we've been back, but I think we finally
Jellyfish, Star Wars,
are.
like Jurassic Park.
Anger. Yeah, if you're still listening, or if you've just jumped on for this episode, we really appreciate it. All our details are in the description. I won't bore you with listing them off, but as always, we really appreciate you, and we thank you for listening. And I guess with that, we'll talk at you later.
I've
I've
been
been your
Jake Greer.
host, Billy Greer.
I've been Luke Greer.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.